200 million in sales. Believe it or not, that's not some YouTube guru made up number. That's real transactions, real sales that I got paid a commission on. So I'm going to break down exactly how I did it and how I went from a broke 21-year-old driving £800 VW Polo to now being almost 30 and having a career that even I didn't really believe was possible. But let me be very clear about something. I'm not going to tell you that this was really easy. This is not going to be crazy motivational. I'm also not going to say you can copy me and do it overnight. But I'm also going to show you a career path that you could do. So you could get into a similar position as me in maybe 1 year instead of 10 years that it took me, if you're willing to put in the work. Before we dive into my story, let me explain how high ticket sales actually works. Ultimately, you collect cash and you get paid a commission on the cash that you collect. So you're not getting paid like £20 commission or £200 commission. You might be getting paid £500 or £1,000 or £1,500. Because ultimately you might be selling something that's 5k, 10k, or 15k, and you'll be getting paid a 10% commission. Ultimately, that structure is what changes everything, because you could get one deal and then your rent's paid for a month. You could get 2 deals and all your expenses are paid for that month. 3 deals, 4 deals, 10 deals, and it goes on, and all of a sudden you've earned a hell of a lot of money instead of just a little bit in commission. That is ultimately the power of high ticket, but there is a difference, and especially when it comes down to remote high ticket sales, which is what I do now, the skill set is completely different than traditional sales. You can't wing it, you can't follow a script, you actually have to know what you're doing. So my journey started in 2015 in an investment property brokerage. And this was high ticket sales over the phone, even back then. But this was like traditional sales. I was wearing a suit and tie. It was the whole corporate thing, spending hours a week in meetings, and I was commuting for 3 hours a day. But we were selling high ticket. I was fortunate enough to get into it from the get-go. And I was averaging probably about 600k in revenue for about 18 months straight. So we were selling investment properties. Some were like 100k or 200k, and they were heavily discounted, and we were selling them to investors over the phone. So it was quite a high stakes environment, and the commission was okay. I mean, I was probably averaging about 6k a month on average. I did have some months that were much better than that. But here's the thing, I still felt limited. I felt trapped, and I was still stuck in an office. And I thought the only way to break out of that was to set up my own business and scale. So I made the decision to set up my own investment property brokerage. I thought, I'm shit hot, I'm well good at sales, I know what the business is like, how hard can this be? Turns out, very hard. The first year was an absolute disaster. I think it was more about like 18 months, which was a disaster. We were still selling the same things, but ultimately I didn't have a clue how to run a business. Ultimately, I literally just cold called people all day long for like 12 to 18 hours a day, thinking that it'd work. Eventually it did work, but there was definitely a better way to be doing things. We sold a load of investments, and someone actually stole them from us and didn't pay us whatsoever, even though it was like a 6-month project. We had crazy bills come through the door that we weren't expecting, and ultimately I pretty much spent all of my savings trying to get this business off the ground. I went from thinking I was hot shit with this really high paying job to being completely broke and in a 10 times worse position. I was staying up at night, stressed out my mind, thinking what the hell have I done? Thinking, how am I going to pay bills that I've got? How am I going to pay rent? Most people, to be honest, would have just gone back to that cushy 6k a month job, but I knew that just wasn't for me. Having a normal job, it's not me. And here's ultimately what failures taught me. I failed a lot in my life, like a real lot, but it's made me tenacious as hell. Like I just keep going. I think they call it like dog mentality now, and I've got that. It's just like fail. It doesn't really faze me. And that first 18 months was just 100% failure, as in there was not, I don't think, one successful moment during the first 18 months of building that business. But eventually we did get a lucky break. And when you're in that survival mode of failure, you develop a work ethic that most people never tap into because they're so used to being comfortable. I don't come from a wealthy background whatsoever, so any money that I had was mine. There was no fallback plan, really. And when you're in that survival mode, it teaches you a lot of lessons. You're not making excuses, you're not waiting for perfect conditions, you just grinding. And eventually, in about 2018, 2019, we got our first real opportunity whereby we got some exclusive investments to sell. And because we were in survival mode, because we'd failed so much, we had that tenacity. We made a massive success of it and sold it out in a really short space of time. Thinking about it, it was a while ago now, I think it was about 2 months that we sold it out. We sold about 30 apartments worth around 200k each in that time period, because we just sold them like our life depended on it, and in some cases it did. That's about 6 million in sales during that period, and because of our success they gave us another one, and then we got testimonials and we could present those testimonials to future people, and we continued at this pace of selling millions and millions and millions of investments every month up until about 2021. But here's the thing, my old brain started ticking again and I still felt trapped. I was still working probably 12 hours a day. I lived outside of the city, so I used to have to commute in for about an hour and 20 minutes there, an hour and 20 minutes back. I've always been really into fitness. I'm struggling to even fit in like a 45-minute workout around my day. I used to go on still probably about 4 or 5 vacations to really nice places, and I never wanted to return to the UK, ever. And I remember looking at the office and sales were still coming through, and I was just thinking, this isn't for me anymore. And in late 2021, I just decided to leave it all behind. I didn't really have a plan. I just passed the business over to my business partners at the time. The office, the business, I guess any security that I had, I just let go of completely. I had a decent cushion, don't get me wrong, but I did not have a clue of where to turn from here. But I knew I wanted freedom. I wanted real freedom. Time, location, and financial freedom. I was on my path to financial freedom, but the other two were completely missing from what I was doing. And vacations just weren't scratching that itch. And after, again, a period of about 6 to 8 months of trial and error and trying different things that didn't work out, I stumbled across remote high ticket sales. I didn't even really know like the remote aspect, like it exists now on Zoom, even existed. I found it completely by accident. And I thought, great, all the objection handling, all the sales skills that I've learned over the past 6 years or whatever, they're all going to transfer perfectly. So I thought. It turns out they didn't. Of course they did to an extent. I had an amazing foundation, but ultimately I've gone through about 3 or 4 different mentors to get to the level where I am today. I started small. For the first couple of months, I might have been doing 50k a month revenue, and I was doing 10% commission, so I was earning about 5k a month. Then I got it to 100k, 10k a month, relatively quickly. And then as I started to dial in my skills, I started regularly hitting above 200k a month. In turn, earning commissions ranging from 20k a month up to 38k a month, which was my best month in just closing alone, and that's in pounds, so like 50k US dollar generated in commissions in 1 month. All from my laptop, all living exactly where I want. No commute, no suit and tie, no covered in tattoos, just none of the corporate bullshit that just wastes your life away. Here's what most people don't understand about hitting those numbers. It's not about being naturally gifted. It's not about being born with some special talent or some rich parents with special introductions, because I didn't have any of those. It's just about learning and mastering a certain set of skills. And here are the 5 ones that I believe are the most important to succeed in this industry. The first is psychology over scripts. A script will get you so far for probably the weakest prospects, but if you have any sort of challenge, any sort of objection, the script will fall to bits. If you understand real buyer psychology, what is driving someone to make a purchase, then you should be able to hold a conversation with anyone and handle any curveballs. The second is identity-based selling. Ultimately, you're not selling products in high-ticket sales. Often you're just selling back to a prospect the identity or the version of themselves that they want to be, and also the escape from the version of themselves that they are right now, that they want to move away from. The third is an emotional discovery process. Anyone can just ask some like BS surface level questions, but getting to real depth and real emotional responses from prospects is ultimately what closes sales. The fourth is advanced objection handling. If your response to a prospect saying, I need to think about it, is either what do you need to think about, or sure, when should we speak again, then you aren't going to do too well in this industry. You need to understand how to properly guide someone through an objection handling process. And the fifth and final, and potentially the most important, is authority positioning. From the second you get on a sales call, the last thing you want to appear to be is another salesperson. You want to appear to be an expert and a trusted advisor. If you're serious about taking a step into remote high ticket sales as a master, not just winging it, then you should be able to book a call with me just below this video now, or drop me a DM on Instagram for a chat. Ultimately, like earlier in my career, especially when I was running my own business, I thought it was all about volume. I thought it was all about numbers. Taking 100 calls a day and making sure that I do the most possible, that's what's going to get me the result. But that's not true. If you make 100 calls and you haven't got the skill dialed in, versus making 3 high ticket sales calls when you have a high level of skill, the second option will always win and always yield high results. It just comes down to leverage. The difference between you earning 3K a month and 20K a month, it's not about working harder. I'm sure you work very hard right now. It's about working smarter, having a better discovery process, a better offer that you're working on, a better vehicle to get you to where you want to go, being better at objection handling. When you get those fundamentals right, then the results are much more predictable. Here's why I think remote high ticket sales is ultimately the best of what I've done so far. During my career of almost 10 years in sales, in high ticket sales, why I think remote high ticket sales specifically is the best option for you. The first is it's a global opportunity. You're not limited to work with people just local to you. You can tap into the US market, which is booming, and that's where all the money is. The second is the time leverage. You're going to be working 4 to 7 hours a day. If you're a bit of a maniac, you can do a bit longer, but ultimately, the rest of the time around that is completely your own. The third is it is true location freedom. I've closed deals from Thailand, Mexico, Spain, Portugal, Bali. Ultimately, the list goes on. As long as you've got Wi-Fi and you're disciplined, then you can close deals from anywhere. The fourth is income scalability. Like, I'm coaching pretty much full time now, but like I mentioned, my best month was 500K revenue, which is like 50K USD in commissions. And I have colleagues that are doing that every single month, just literally from 5 or 6 calls a day. There's literally no salary cap, and ultimately you can move from being a closer to a sales manager to an agency owner. You can go into coaching like me, you can build sales teams, you can do recruitment. Literally, once you learn these skills, you can keep scaling, and really the sky is the limit. And unlike most careers, sales skills compound over time. So the more time you're at it, the better you get, the more you get paid. Now, let me be completely honest with you. This isn't for everyone. If you're going to be the sort of person that just crumbles at the first sign of failure, at the first time that it gets a bit hard, or the first time you get rejected, then this career path definitely isn't for you. You might be better off staying in the 9 to 5 where it's comfortable and it's secure and it's steady, and I guess it feels safer. Most of my friends and family have all chosen that path, and that's completely fine. It's completely normal. But if you want a little bit more, you want to push yourself, you want to have complete financial, time and location freedom. You value traveling, you want to travel and work, and you're willing to actually put in the work and learn the skills, then this is possible for you. But you need to be self-motivated. No one's going to hold your hand. You can't be a Mr. Poopy Pants. No one's giving you a participation trophy here. This is on you. You need to develop real skills, not just try and wing it from things you found on YouTube. And you need to be patient. Your first 10K month might take 3 to 6 months until you're capable of hitting it. But once you've hit it, it's very hard to undo the skills, if you know what I mean. Once you've got them and once you've hit that level, it's going to be much easier to scale it than to go backwards. So if you are serious about this and you've been looking at the road out of the corporate world or the traditional sales job world, and you've been thinking about this for a while, then it ultimately just comes down to you taking that first step, making that commitment to invest into yourself, to invest into your skills, and to a more fruitful career. 200 million in sales, it didn't happen by accident. It happened by being a complete maniac and being 100% committed to a life that I wanted to achieve, that realistically, I am actually living right now, and it's kind of weird. I've still got a lot more to go, and I've still got even greater goals to come. But ultimately, I am where I am because I took that first step, and I committed to becoming world class at something that matters, and something that I get paid quite a lot for. The opportunity is there, the demand is there, the companies are there for you to work with. This is literally a $500 billion industry projected by 2030, the online education and coaching space. You just need a tiny slice of that. Bear in mind, all of that 500 billion is generated by high ticket closers. So if you want a slice of it, here's what you've got to do. Don't try and wing it. Learn the skills properly. Practice the skills regularly. Know what a good opportunity looks like, what a bad opportunity looks like. Present yourself well, and you'll do so well. If you want my help getting to where you want to go, you want to leverage my 10 years of successes and failures, and I'll basically just pass on all my knowledge and help you get to where you want to go and actually land in one of these remote high ticket sales positions, then you can drop me a DM on Instagram, or you should be able to book a call with me on the link below this video. I wish you the best of luck. Ciao.